In the tech industry, events that literally push the boundaries of the familiar market and set a new trajectory for the entire sector are rare, but this is exactly what is now happening around the Samsung Galaxy Z TriFold, a device already being called not just another smartphone, but the first mass representative of a new category of personal electronics. For many years, the idea of a triple folding phone seemed too complex, too fragile, too expensive to ever reach the market, and many experts placed it in the category of experimental concepts that companies show at exhibitions but never release in mass production. However, Samsung quietly and consistently moved toward this goal, and at the end of 2025 completed a years-long journey by unveiling the world's first commercial smartphone with a triple folding display, the Galaxy Z TriFold. Reputable outlets such as The Verge, TechRadar, Android Authority, and GSM Arena almost simultaneously published reviews of the device, calling it Samsung's most important technological experiment in recent years, and emphasizing that TriFold is not just an evolution of the Fold lineup, but a leap into a category that previously did not exist. It should be noted that Samsung had indeed been preparing for the moment when it could show such a device to the market. Between 2021 and 2023, the company regularly demonstrated three-fold flex in and out prototypes at exhibitions like Display Week, and many observers viewed them as technical showcases that might become the basis for future solutions, but would likely never reach consumer-grade refinement. Now that TriFold has become a reality, it is clear that Samsung gradually, step by step, built the foundation that allowed the company to leap several years ahead of the entire foldable device market. The core of TriFold is Samsung's next-generation Flex OLED display, capable of bending at 2 points simultaneously. When fully unfolded, the device becomes a large 10-inch flexible tablet with a 120 Hz refresh rate, brightness at the level of Samsung's flagship models, and adaptive power-saving technology. When folded, TriFold functions as a regular smartphone with a 6.5-inch screen. The dual-hinge mechanism is the result of years of refinement, and although Samsung does not publicly disclose details of its construction, publications confirm the use of a new titanium frame, reduced thickness of the folding display layers, and a system designed so that the load from the two hinges is evenly distributed. It is important to emphasize that Samsung officially states that the Galaxy Z TriFold does not support the S Pen, because the current UTG glass version is not designed to withstand stylus pressure, which fundamentally distinguishes the device from the Fold series oriented toward productivity. Another key feature is the hardware platform. TriFold is built on the Snapdragon 8 Elite, equipped with 16 GB of RAM and up to 1 TB of storage, allowing the device to handle ultrabook-level tasks. In tablet mode, the smartphone supports advanced multitasking features, including 3 simultaneous windows, drag and drop between apps, and improved Samsung DeX integration. This makes TriFold a device that can simultaneously serve as a phone, tablet, and work tool, and this is the primary argument analysts cite when calling TriFold the first device of a new category. But to assess the impact of TriFold on the industry, the market reaction must be considered. First, competitors reacted instantly. Huawei has been promoting its own multi-format foldable devices for several years, and in 2024 to 2025 introduced the Mate X5 and Mate XT, one of which became the world's first commercial TriFold phone, but its distribution is limited to China due to sanctions and the absence of Google services. Huawei proved the design possible, but it is Samsung that created the first global product. This sharply intensified the competition. Insiders from Digital Chat Station and Chinese analysts cited in Caixin confirmed that Huawei is preparing the second generation of its TriFold device to enter the international market through third countries. However, on a global scale, it is Samsung that becomes the trendsetter of the form factor, and this moment is described in the industry as strategically important. Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo also have triple fold display prototypes and have shown concepts at closed exhibitions, but none of them is ready for mass production, as reported by Nikkei Asia and ET News. Thus, Samsung is now in a unique position. The first mover filter creates a branding effect similar to what the Note lineup or the first Galaxy Fold once achieved. Against the backdrop of the TriFold's debut, analysts from DSCC and Canalys began talking about the formation of a new market segment, devices that replace several categories at once: smartphones, tablets, and partially laptops. Statistical data shows that foldable device users spend significantly more time in multi-window mode than owners of standard smartphones. TriFold radicalizes this scenario. The device offers a large display designed for professional tasks and essentially breaks the traditional boundary between a smartphone and a tablet. But the most interesting aspect is the influence of TriFold on Apple. Until recently, Apple maintained the position that foldable phones remain insufficiently mature to become part of its lineup. According to TechRadar, Tom's Guide, The Information, and several Bloomberg reports, Apple indeed conducted extensive research on flexible panels, worked with LG Display and Samsung Display, tested two types of foldable prototypes, but postponed mass implementation due to issues with reliability and display thickness. In 2024 to 2025, the situation changed. ET News and Reuters reported that Apple is preparing its first foldable iPhone with an estimated release date in 2026. Exact specifications remain unknown, but leaks mention a form factor similar to either flip or fold, depending on which concept the company ultimately chooses. And here, the TriFold creates pressure. Apple is used to entering the market later than others, but with a product that defines the standard of the category. However, in the case of foldables, the scenario is shifting. The technological distance Samsung and Huawei have covered over 5 to 6 years of flexible display development has become too large for Apple to simply catch up. Therefore, analysts from Morgan Stanley and Bloomberg write that Apple may either skip the phase of conventional foldable phones or combine the launch of its foldable iPhone with new ecosystem features, including integration with Vision OS. Such rumors are indeed circulating among insiders, but no confirmations exist yet. Even so, with the arrival of the TriFold, it becomes clear that even Apple can no longer ignore the growing segment of flexible devices. The company openly states that TriFold is a new class of device that will naturally evolve gradually, and the market understands this, just as it once understood that the first Fold models were only the beginning. Thus, the Galaxy Z TriFold becomes one of the most significant events in the mobile industry of the past 10 years. It opens a new category, sets a new trajectory for competition, forces Apple to accelerate development, makes tablet and laptop manufacturers reconsider their strategies, and even influences the components market. It is a device that changes the perception of what a smartphone can be and creates the foundation for a new technological cycle. And if previous years were dedicated to cameras, chips, and batteries, the coming years will be dedicated to form factors, devices capable of changing their shape depending on the user's task. And Samsung Galaxy Z TriFold is the first and brightest representative of this new era.